technicians on hand and providing water, towels, and portable toilets. This is all part of an all-of-government and whole-of-community effort. We have brought in personnel from the Department of Health and Human Services to address medical needs and supplies. We've also worked with the American Red Cross to bring in supplies and much-needed resources to the population. We have worked with the World Central Kitchen to bring in meals for the migrants. Not only do we leverage the resources and capabilities of the Department of Homeland Security, we look across the federal government and in partnership with civil society, local resources to see what we can do to bring more capabilities to bear to meet the challenge, and that is indeed what we are doing here. Finally, the White House has directed appropriate U.S. agencies to work with the Haitian and other regional governments to provide assistance and support to returnees. The majority of migrants continue to be expelled under CDC's Title 42 authority. Those who cannot be expelled under that authority and do not have a legal basis to remain will be placed in expedited removal proceedings. DHS is conducting regular expulsion and removal flights to Haiti, Mexico, Ecuador, and Northern Triangle countries. We are very concerned that Haitians who are taking this irregular migration path are receiving false information that the border is open or that temporary protected status is available. I want to make sure that it is known that this is not the way to come to the United States. That is false information. Irregular migration poses a serious security risk to the migrants themselves. Trying to enter the United States illegally is not worth the tragedy, the money, or the effort. As we have said consistently since we published the Federal Register notice officially designating Haiti for temporary protected status, or TPS, only Haitians living in the United States before July 29th are eligible for temporary protected status. We have reiterated that our borders are not open and people should not make the dangerous journey. Individuals and families are subject to border restrictions, including expulsion. Irregular migration poses a significant threat to the health and welfare of border communities and to the lives of the migrants themselves, and should not be attempted. If you come to the United States illegally, you will be returned. Your journey will not succeed, and you will be endangering your life and your family's lives. This administration is committed to developing safe, orderly, and humane pathways for migration, but this is not the way to do it. Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce Commissioner Troy Miller of the United States Border Protection.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for joining us here today. And importantly, thank you for what you've done over the last several days to elevate the work that we're doing since this group of migrants began arriving in Del Rio. Your leadership has ensured that DHS could count on a whole-of-government approach. That is not just a buzzword. It means that the federal government is engaged and mobilizing the necessary resources to process the migrants arriving here at Del Rio quickly, humanely, and maintain the safety of everyone involved. And I can't say thank you enough to the state, local, and NGO partners that are also here with us. Once again, everybody's come together to assist in addressing the needs of the local communities while also addressing the challenging situations we face together. I thank you for everyone's hard work. I also want to thank my colleague, Border Patrol Chief Ortiz. Chief took the helm a few short weeks ago and just in time to lead this important effort in his hometown. The Chief will give additional operational details in just a minute. And I want to thank the CBP workforce who continue to rally to every situation and challenge we face. I am proud to work alongside the dedicated and resilient men and women of CBP every single day who serve this country with relentless determination and integrity. Finally, I want to stress something important. CBP's message for anyone thinking of entering the United States illegally along the southern border is clear and simple. Our borders are not open. Entering the country illegally is a dangerous undertaking. Don't put your life or put your family's safety in the hands of smugglers or other criminals who will tell you that our borders are open. Don't do it. With that, I want to turn it over to U.S. Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz.
Thanks, sir. Good morning, and thank you, Acting Commissioner Miller and Secretary Mayorkas, for the support you provided so we can get these resources moved in here as quickly as we have. The coordination within CBP, throughout DHS, and across the federal government is key to our response. This really has been a whole-of-government approach as I've never seen before, and that means it has included our state, local, and NGO partners, and certainly the communities that have come together and worked long hours to address this situation here in Del Rio, Texas, and I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. I also want to talk a little bit about, what we have mobilized. As the Commissioner and the Secretary mentioned, 600 agents. That includes customs officers and Border Patrol agents, mobile field force trained individuals, and DHS volunteer force personnel to the Del Rio sector to improve control of the situation underneath this bridge. We've prioritized surging medical support personnel and have expanded the scope and scale of medical support on the ground. This includes the CBP EMTs, DHS volunteer force members, as well as personnel from across the federal government, to include the HHS, the Disaster Medical Assistance Team, who arrived this morning and are continuing to provide services to the migrants. This also includes the San Antonio Fire Department. They sent personnel to assist us, and we want to thank all of these partners for the assistance as we provide integrated on-site medical services and try to reduce the strain on the local community. Together, our teams have been able to handle most medical concerns while continuing to stay in touch with local health systems on issues that may require additional medical care at a facility here in Del Rio. The Del Rio Port of Entry remains closed. Traffic is being rerouted from Del Rio to Eagle Pass to more effectively manage resources and ensure uninterrupted flow of trade and travel. As I said yesterday, U.S. Border Patrol is coordinating with Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the U.S. Coast Guard to move individuals from Del Rio to other processing locations within Texas, including 2,500 on Sunday. DHS is also working to accelerate and increase the frequency and capacity of Title 42 flights to expel individuals to Haiti and other countries of origin. We're achieving our goals. We're getting there and getting to a point where we can manage a population here. We are already seeing it quickly diminish, and we'll continue to see that over the coming days. I talked yesterday about how so much of this migration is driven through social media and word of mouth. And smugglers are significant drivers of the misinformation that gets people to undertake these dangerous journeys. Smugglers continue to recklessly endanger lives of individuals they exploit for their own financial gain. Many of these migrants cross through remote, harsh terrain and unpredictable weather to get this far. Many likely didn't make it. The smugglers leverage misinformation to mislead people. Some of that information is focused on the TPS. Let's be clear, only those individuals living in the United States prior to July 29th are eligible for temporary protected status, or TPS. No one who arrived here this past week will be eligible to get TPS. So here's the fact. We are still enforcing the CDC Title 42 order, and those attempting irregular migration here will not be allowed to enter the United States. They will be removed and sent back to their country of origin as mandated under current laws. I also want to stress that for those being removed to Haiti, our partners at the State Department are working to ensure that there is adequate support when they arrive in Haiti. But the message is clear. Do not attempt the journey. All of you covering here for the media, you're crucial to getting this message out, that the smugglers are unscrupulous and the misinformation is wrong. Our borders are not open, and people should not make the journey. Thank you for being here.
There's time for a few questions. Vanessa, do you have one? Go ahead.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. My question is in regards to, thank you for what you're doing right now. We see a lot of action right now, but this took 4 to 5 days. Why did it take so long if those numbers continued to grow and, you knew they were coming?
So the volume of people was rather sudden, rather dramatic, very quick, and we surged resources according to the pace.
Mr. Secretary, Kenneth Moore with ABC News. May I ask you, how do you respond to those who say that these Haitian immigrants are being sent back to some really bad conditions faster than others who illegally entered this country?
So that is factually inaccurate. Let me say something with respect to the fact that individuals are being returned to Haiti specifically. What we did is we studied the country conditions in Haiti to determine whether temporary protected status was warranted. When we were going to publish the Federal Register notice announcing TPS several months ago, the tragic assassination of the Haitian leader occurred. We withheld publication of that notice to see what the country conditions would be following the assassination, what the level and extent and duration of any unsettlement was. We watched that. We saw a new government take power. We published accordingly the Federal Register notice and announced that TPS was available for people in the United States as of July 29th. We were accommodating to the conditions in the country, as is our legal obligation to do so. We then saw the tragic and devastating earthquake in Haiti. That earthquake, as tragic and devastating as it is and was, is distinct from the January 10th, 2010 earthquake that was not as geographically limited as this one is. We made an assessment based on the country conditions, as we are required to do, that a redesignation of Haiti was not warranted on the facts, on the conditions in Haiti, that Haiti could in fact receive individuals safely. TPS is available to those who have been in the United States before July 29th, and that is not changing.
Go ahead.
Secretary, Ken Molesino with CBS 11 Dallas Fort Worth. Thanks for being here. I just wanted to sort of piggyback a little bit on what a colleague mentioned here. She mentioned in the past couple of days, but for many of us who've been reporting on the situation for months now, we know that border officials have been sort of setting off alarms, sending red flags to Washington saying we need help, we need help. Why has it taken so long for you all to sort of dedicate this amount of attention and resources to the border finally after we see what's happening in that bridge?
As I mentioned before, the surge in resources has been commensurate with the surge in migration.
Pedro?
Mr. Secretary, Pedro Rojas with Univision National News. Welcome to the border.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you, after you saw what touring the shelter under the bridge, what impacted you the most? And is there a way that you think this could not replicate? Because we have heard of groups similar to this one coming to Reynosa, Tamaulipas, and possibly in California, see the same scenario in the next few days.
So let me answer the second part of your question first, and then the profound question you posed at the outset. We are communicating, as we have now for months, loudly and clearly, that irregular migration, the perilous journey, is not the journey to take. One risks one's life, the life of one's loved ones, for a mission that will not succeed. We have been, we are, and we will continue to exercise the public health authority of the Centers for Disease Control in light of the fact that this country and this world is confronting a pandemic. Number one. Number two, I saw many different things when I visited the bridge earlier today. It's not the first time that I've visited the bridge during my tenure. First and foremost, let me speak of the heartbreak, because it is tragic to see families, vulnerable individuals who've been deceived by treacherous and exploitative smuggling organizations. It is tragic and it is heartbreaking. I also see, once again, the heroic work of the United States Border Patrol, of field operations, of our state and local partners, and everyone in civil society also coming to the rescue to address the needs of this population as we execute our border authorities, as we